Let's take a moment, look at the disclaimer. This content is for educational, informational, entertainment purposes only, and nothing should be taken as a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any securities at any time. We're here just to spread the word about how BTA analyzes the market, how we look at the markets. This is Rod from BTA, and we are known as the middle traders. We are not going to get in at the exact bottom. We are not going to get out at the exact top, but we are going to make a lot of money in the middle. This is our weekly Bollinger Band strategy update. Okay? And I'm going to tell you, it's something very interesting happening with this weekly Bollinger Band strategy. I suggest that everyone goes back and look at last week, weekly Bollinger Band strategy update. Last weekend, we did it on July the 3rd, 2022. That was last weekend. It was called This Only Happened One Time in 20 Years. It was the weekly Bollinger Band strategy update. It's labeled It Only Happened. This happened only one time in the last 20 years. I'm telling you, go back and look at that update, that video, and look at this video and pay very close attention. You should stop right now in this video and go back to last week's video and then come back to this one, because I'm telling you, this is something that only happened once in the last 20 years, and we got to pay very close attention. It could be something that can make us a lot of money, and it could be something that could stop us from losing money. Remember, this is not financial advice. You know I cannot give financial advice, but wouldn't it be wonderful if it was? But it's not. But if it was, you would not lose a lot of money. I'm telling you, go back and look at last week, weekly Bollinger Band update, and look at this one and pay attention. We're talking about things that only happened once in the last 20 years. And when it happened was 2008 and 2009. And you know we was in a recession in 2008 and 2009. What's happening right now? Recession is looming. We're not in one right now, but a recession is on the way. Okay? Be careful. This is a weekly chart of the DIA. Okay? And this week right here completed the signal week. Okay? So now we officially got the signal week, and we're looking for the pivot week, our week to buy, to go long. But I'm telling you, be careful. We're not going to buy on the pivot week for the simple fact, okay, if we buy on the pivot week, let's go to the daily chart. Please pay attention, y'all. Pay attention to these videos we're putting up. You can't say I didn't tell you. If we go back to the daily charts, right? See that 50-day moving average right above head? You see that downward trending red line, that 50-day moving average. It's at 319.44. 319.44. Let me write that number down. 319.44. So I don't have to switch back. It's at 319.44. That 50-day moving average. We close at 313.46. Be careful. On the daily chart, you got the 50-day moving average at 319.44 for the DIA. Let's go to this weekly chart again. Let's go. Let's minimize this for a minute. Do you see where that 8-week moving average is? That green line? See that 8-week moving average, that green line? It's at 315.78 right now. Okay, so the 50-day on the daily chart is 319.44. And the 8-week, okay, on this weekly chart, you see it right here, this green line, it's at 315.78. And if you've been watching the videos, I told y'all, okay, I'm going to expand this. I'm trying to make sure you can't say I didn't say it. I'm going to put right here, okay, one moving average line, and we're going to turn it to a 10-week. Right? I told you on the Marcus Smith platform, according to William O'Neill's strategies, he used the 10-week. I'm going to put the 10-week thick, okay, so you can see it. I'm pretty thick, so you can see it. It's gonna be in royal blue. It's gonna be in royal blue. You see it right there? See that 10-week? The 10-week is equivalent almost to the 50-day moving average on the daily chart. Okay, where do we say the 50-day moving average is at? 319.44. Where this 10-week is at right there? 317.76. Okay, so the 10-week is 317.76. You get the picture? If you buy according to the Bollinger Band strategy update, we got too much overhead resistance. It's sitting right in front of us. So we can't do it. We can't do it. I would not make the purchase according to the weekly Bollinger Band strategy update, our trading plan, for the simple fact we got these overhead resistance levels that we got to get through. We got the 8-week, which is the green line. We got the 10-week, which is this big, thick royal blue line, okay? And then we have the 50-day moving average on the daily chart. Be careful. You can't say, I didn't say it. Be careful. I'm telling you, it's a lot of overhead resistance on these charts right now. We got to be careful. Let's go back to the weekly Bollinger Band strategy. According to the strategy, this is the signal week is complete, right? The RSI is still above 30. We did close above the lower Bollinger Band. We got to close above the lower Bollinger Band with the RSI above 30. It's at 41.15 rather, I'm sorry. And then we finally got our bullish crossover on the stochastic where the blue line crossed above the red and then moved back above 20. So the signal week is complete. We're now looking for the pivot week. And according to the strategy, our trading plan, the pivot week would be a close above the close of the signal week. So a close above the 313.46 level next week. So next week we're going to start getting some trading action. Any day we close above the close of this 313.46 level, okay, the signal week's close. Any day we close above that signal week, that's the pivot. So next week is supposed to be the pivot week, but I'm telling you, we're not going to take the trade. We are not going to take the trade because this close, this pivot right here on the signal week, this close will be 313.46. We got the 50-day moving average on the daily chart at 319.44. We got the 8-week moving average on the weekly chart at 315.78, and we got the 10-week moving average on the weekly chart at 317.76. So do you get it? We cannot take the trade, okay, because it's too much overhead resistance. And the 10-week moving average is what O'Neill taught us to use on the weekly chart, and it's kind of equivalent to the 50-day on the daily chart. Be careful. So the pivot week will not be taken on any of these charts, on any of the major index ETFs for the weekly Bollinger Band strategy. It's not going to be taken. So now let's look at the QQQs. The SPY. Let's look at the SPY. Okay, let's look at the SPY. You see this right here? We got our signal week set up. The signal week has been set up, right? We close above the lower Bollinger Band, right? We close above the lower Bollinger Band. The RSI is above 30, okay? And the stochastic finally gave us a bullish crossover. The blue line crossed above the red, and it's at 24.87. But I'm telling you, be careful for the SPY because we got this same problem. We got some long-term, extremely strong overhead resistance levels, okay? If we go to the daily chart first, you see that downward trending 50-day moving average right here? It's at 396.48. So 396.48 is the 50-day moving average. Right overhead, we close at 388.67, right? Well, you say that's almost $10 away. Well, listen. Okay, let's go to the weekly chart. We're not trying to catch the first move. We are middle traders. But think about this. Look at the 8-week moving average, the green line on the weekly chart. This is the weekly chart we're back to now, right? That was the 50-day moving average at 396.48. So now let's look at the weekly chart. Let's zoom in. You see that green moving average, that downward trending green moving average? That's the 8-week moving average, okay? That's at 391.39. 391.39. Where did we close at this week? We closed at 388.67. Okay, that downward trending 8-week moving average is at 391.89. Look at that 10-week moving average right there. The William O'Neill 10-week moving average for the weekly chart. 394.41. You see that? Okay, and we're not even talking about the 13-week that's right over the top of that. So we got the 8-week moving average at 391.39, and we got the 10-week moving average at 394.41. So we got 391.39 for the 8-week and 394.41 for the 10-week. You see the problem here? And you got the 50-day moving average is at 396.48. It is a lot of overhead resistance here waiting for us. We have to be careful. Look, we can't take that trade on the signal week this week for the weekly Bollinger Band. It's too much going against the trade right now. We can't take it. Don't forget, the volume is very low. This is a rebound rally on low volume. Please go back and look at the walk with the market and the end of day updates for this week. Look at last week's weekly Bollinger Band strategy update, because we're going to do a part 2 to this. And I'm telling you, it's something that only happened once in 20 years, and it's happening now. Be careful. We can't take the trade for the signal week right now. Next week is probably may be the pivot week. If we close above on the SPY, we close at 388.67. So next week's trading, if we close above, any day we close above 388.67, that will be the pivot, right? According to our trading plan. But I'm telling you, we're not going to take the trade. You got the 50-day moving average looking right at you. You got the 8-week moving average, the 50-day moving average looking right at you at 396.48 for the SPY. We got the 8-week moving average looking right at you. And then we got the 10-week moving average looking right at you. Be careful. It is not worth it. It is too risky. We are trying to get the safest, highest probability trade. I'm telling you, going long right now could be dangerous. It's a lot of things going on. I'm going to do an update to this. It's a lot of divergences going on. I'm telling you, be careful. Here's the QQQs, okay? ETF that tracks the NASDAQ, specifically the NASDAQ 100. Yes, we have now the signal week is complete for the Qs also. We close above the lower Bollinger Band, right? We close above the lower Bollinger Band. We did that this week. The RSI is still above 30. It's at 41. And the stochastic gave us a bullish crossover right here. The blue line crossed above the red, and it just peeks its head above 20. It's at 2106. It's at 2106. So the signal week is complete. Next week will be the pivot week. Okay, and what's the pivot week? Well, the pivot is going to be the close of the signal week, which is this week. This week closed at 295.35. 295.35 is a pivot. Any time we close above 295.35 will be the pivot, our signal to go long according to the trading plan. But I'm telling you, we are not going to take the trade. Why? Because it's too much overhead resistance there. The trade is not safe to take right now just because it closed above, but it's because it hit the pivot. Okay? Well, let's look at it. All right? Let's expand this a little bit. Okay? Let's zoom in. Okay, before we look at the weekly chart, let's go down to the daily chart real quick. You see that 50-day moving average? 50-day moving average, that red line right there. Okay, it's at 296.84. See that 50-day moving average at 296.84. The 50-day moving average is 296.84 for the QQQs. Okay? You see we ran up to that 50-day moving average. All right? Let me bring this up so you can see it. Let me expand this a little bit. All right? I want you to be able to see this very clearly. Okay? You see we ran up to that 50-day moving average? You see it? See, we ran up to the 50-day moving average. Right there, the high of Friday's trading action stopped right at the 50-day moving average, almost to the penny, and then it closed a little bit below it. I'm not saying we can't break above it next week, but I'm telling you, be careful. We closed right at the 50-day moving average. We got to get above this 50-day moving average convincingly. All right, it's a lot going on next week, a lot of economic news. Yeah, some of that news could send the market on the rally, but some of it could cause it to collapse. And we got a lot of things coming up over the next couple of weeks. We got the CPI, we got the PPI, the inflation numbers. We got a Fed meeting coming up later on this month. We got earnings season starting next week. Okay, we got GDP, the second estimate for GDP coming out in the next couple of weeks. If the second quarter GDP is negative, that means we're gonna have 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. That's a technical recession. It is a lot going on. I'm not saying it can't get above the 50-day moving average, but it better get above it conventionally, and you better watch this earnings season coming up, because these corporations they may give some bad guidance going forward, because things are not that great in the economy. Their profit margin is going to start being squeezed. Their net profits their earnings are going to be less. Hey, be careful. I don't know if the Qs can do it, but you see where the 50-day moving average is at, 296.84. Okay, we closed at 295.35. Now look at the 10-week moving average. This royal blue line. We closed right on it. We just got above the 8-week, and we just got above the 150-week moving average. But look at the 13-week right above head. Look at the 13-week right above head. That's at 302.14. Okay, so we just closed right on the 10-week almost. We closed right on the 10-week almost. We just barely above the 150-week and the 8-week moving average. And then you got the 13-week, this yellow line right overhead at 302.14. Well, where's the 10-week at? The 10-week is at 295.08. You just closed above it. We closed at 290. We closed at 295.35. So we just barely above the 10-week, the William O'Neill 10-week moving average. We stalled, just touched the high of Friday's trading, touched the 50-day moving average and pulled back a little bit. But you got the 13-week, a downward trending 13-week right overhead, right there. Okay, at 302.14. I'm telling you, be careful. The volume is not coming in that great. We got a rebound rally on low volume. I'm telling you, be careful. Look, this thing can roll over. It can go higher, but it doesn't have that great of a probability. It got to get above all this overhead resistance. Volume is not coming in. It's a rebound rally on low volume. I'm telling you, we're not taking the trade according to the strategy. We got to see these indexes get above all of this overhead resistance. If we can't see that happen, we got to slow up. It's just not worth it. Okay? I'm telling you, that's what we're doing. This is not financial advice. You know I can't give financial advice. But wouldn't it be wonderful if it was? Wouldn't it be great if it was? But it's not. But if it was, you will not lose a lot of money. Be careful. The QQQs is barely above the 150-week moving average. It's barely above the 8-week moving average. It's barely above the 10-week moving average. It's right below the 50-day. It's right below the 13-week. Volume is not hitting the ball out the park. A rebound rally on low volume. The Qs. Remember, look at the walk with the market. The advanced decline differential chart, the invisible chart, our go-to indicator. is telling us also that Qs is not looking that strong. Isn't it interesting that the Qs are trying to rally? Everything is trying to rally, but the green line is below the zero line. Not that great. We know the follow through day has a 90%, the rally has a 90% chance of failing because we closed below, we had a break below the low of the follow through day. Be careful. It's a lot going on here. It's almost too much to be taking a chance. We're not trying to gamble. Let's finish up. This is the last one. We're going to look at the IWM. We're going to finish up with the IWM real quick. And this is it. Okay? Because I think it's enough said. I think everybody get the picture. Hopefully everybody get the picture. Hopefully you're picking up the jewels that I'm dropping here. Hopefully. Hope you are. Okay? I hope you are. Well, for the IWM, okay, we did complete the signal week. We closed this week above the lower Bollinger Band. The RSI is above 30. Okay, it's at 39.43. And the stochastic just gave us our bullish crossover. The blue line crossed above the red, and it's above 20. It's at 23.18. So the weekly Bollinger Band strategy, the signal week is complete. Next week would be the pivot week if we close above 175.45. That's the close of the signal week. Is 175.59. I'm sorry, 175.59. If we get a close above that next week, which is our pivot week, if we get a close above that, that's the pivot that go long. We're not taking the trade. We are not taking the trade. We are not taking the trade. Okay. I don't know how many times I can say we're not taking the trade on any of the weekly Bollinger Band strategy until we see what's going to flush out with these moving averages. Look, we're going to make it quick. Okay, we're going to make this quick. All right, we're going to make this real quick. Okay, sorry about that. Keep going to this intraday. We're going to make this real quick. Okay, here. Let me go down to the daily chart. Bingo. Okay, you see this? See this? You see the 50-day moving average for the IWM? Right overhead, this red line, right overhead, 178.26. 178.26 at the 50-day moving average is right overhead. Look at this rebound rally with volume going lower instead of going higher. Yeah, it can go to the moon, but what's the probability of it? I will be careful. I'm going to be careful. We're not taking the trade, okay? So let's look at the IWM on the weekly chart. We see the 50-day moving average. You see this problem here? You see that? Boy, I'm telling you, don't let nobody talk you into this nonsense. You see the 200-week moving average for the IWM? You see that? We closed below the 200-week moving average. You see that green line, the downward trending 8-week moving average? We're below that. See that downward trending 10-week moving average? We right below that. The high of this week is right inside of all of that. Yes, it closed up, but closed up on lower volume. Be careful. I'm telling you, it's just not worth it. The 200-week moving average, is at 176.48. We closed at 175. We closed at 175.59. The 200-week moving average is at 176.48. Okay, the 8-week moving average, look at it, 177.08. Look at that 10-week, okay, is at 177.73. You see the problem here? You got the 10-week move, you got the 8-week moving average at 177.08, and you got the 10-week, this blue line right here, okay, right here, the 10-week is at 177.73. We closed at 175.59 for the IWM. The 50-day moving average is at 178.26. Listen, just because it closed above the pivot week, we're going to take that trade? No way. No way, no how. We got to get above all this overhead resistance. You see the support and resistance levels on the structural charts. You got to piece it all together. I'm putting it all out here for you to see it. I hope y'all picking up the jewels that I'm dropping. Be careful. See you in the next video.